bitch. What is up, guys? This is DDP here with the Dallas Prospect, here to talk a little bit of Cowboys football with you. I may potentially be joined actually by Big Game James. Actually, until I know for sure, I'm not going to wear the cumbersome headphones because they get in the way a little bit. And I like freedom of movement. So, what is up, guys? First in the house, we got Gleh, guitar slinging zombie killer. What up? Abraham Young, Stevie Mac 23. What up, guys? Let's see, Stevie Mac. Hope you had an awesome Thanksgiving, dude. Appreciate that. Yeah, I had a pretty good Thanksgiving actually. Hopefully you guys also had great holidays as well. I know the Cowboys beating the Redskins' ass definitely helped improve my mood that day, as if it needed a whole lot more anyway. But yeah, man, anytime you can hit a 3-game win streak, anytime you can go in against a division rival and beat their teeth down their throat pretty much, you're going to feel a little bit better about it. And the fact that it gives you a 3-game win streak and first place in the division, that's only going to help. That's only going to brighten your smile. I know for sure the rest of that week I was walking around with a little extra pep in my step. Ichigo, what up, man? But yes, Cowboys riding a 3-game win streak now have a serious challenge in their wake. But as I wrote about today, actually I wrote it yesterday, it published today, go figure. It's not so crazy to think that the Cowboys can beat the New Orleans Saints. Now, hear me out. Now, you could look at it from the context of, oh, well, this is the second longest win streak in Saints history, 10 games, and their longest streak ever was 2009, 13 games. Who beat them in 2009? Oh, right.
How about them Cowboys?
Yes, the Dallas Cowboys beat them. That's right. But that's not any kind of analysis, obviously. That's just coincidence, generally. But let's take a look at some things here. So for starters, yes, the Saints are on a 10-game streak. And you look at the Cowboys and you say, well, they have 5 losses. True, but they've only lost 1 game since acquiring Amari Cooper. They are 3-1. By the way, guys, let me know if I get too laggy. My internet's been kind of wonky today. I had a stream earlier that was not great because of lag. If it gets too laggy, I'll turn off the camera so at least you don't get distracted by me doing the Mr. Roboto over here. But yes, 5-loss Cowboys team, but they are 3-1 since acquiring Amari Cooper, and it's because it changes how defenses have to guard against the Cowboys. And as a result of that, you can't stack the box as well against Zeke, and you can't just take Cole Beasley out of the game plan most weeks because now your best corner is going to have to go on to Amari, and he's going to have to get a little extra attention from time to time, which has allowed other guys like Michael Gallup and Allen Hurns and Cole Beasley, the aforementioned Cole Beasley, to make some plays. And that's good. That is good. But, you know, the momentum and how it changes things for them allows them to be a little more optimistic going into this game than I would have felt 2 or 3 weeks ago. Let's see, Abraham Young, we beat them with Romo, but the Saints won the Super Bowl that year. Yeah, they did. Very narrowly beat the Vikings in the NFC Championship after the Vikings waxed the floor with us, and then, you know, beat Peyton Manning and the Colts, I believe, in the Super Bowl. So yes, very impressive Super Bowl run the Saints had. But we're not talking about a Super Bowl here. We're talking about just a given, in this case Thursday, can you beat Drew Brees and these Saints? Jay Farmady, 2009, Dallas had the second-ranked defense. Romo had 1 passing touchdown. Barber had 2 rushing touchdowns. The defense was all over Brees, 5 sacks and 1 pick. Great recall on that as well. Yes, so that's part of the key for Dallas here. Dallas is the 7th-rated defense overall, I believe. 7th-rated scoring defense, I know that much. And really that got skewed by the Tennessee game. Prior to the Tennessee game, they were the number 1 ranked scoring defense. So something to consider there as well. This Cowboys defense is very, good. And in 4 of their last 7 games, they're producing multiple turnovers. For a team that through most of this year struggled to create turnovers, they're getting them in bunches a little more often now. Obviously, you get 3 against the Redskins and Colt McCoy. That's going to skew the numbers. But they got, I think it was, they picked off Wentz, LVE, and the next one was LVE as well at Atlanta. They are getting turnovers, and like I said, 4 of the last 7 games, they've produced multiple turnovers. The Saints, meanwhile, they only have 9 turnovers on the year that they've given up, giveaways, and 2 of those have come in the form of fumbles on their opening drive. So maybe there's a little something for Dallas there, because we know how crucial it is for the Cowboys to start hot in a game. If the Cowboys are able to score on their first 2 possessions, not necessarily both, but at least one of those get a touchdown, and their defense can get an early takeaway that at least sets them up with a short field for a field goal, I feel like I'm lagging like crazy. Guys, let me know in the comments. If they can set that up, 5th rated scoring defense as Electric Chicken. Good clarification, good correction. If they can do that, they have a chance, because this Saints team has won by an average of like 11 points, I think, on the season, and they're averaging 37 points a game. If this was in New Orleans, I would not feel good about this at all. But I do think Dallas is gelling pretty well right now in, to quote Jason Garrett, all 3 phases of the game. I mean, yeah, you could say that the kicking game has been a little wonky lately with Brett Maher. Yeah, I see it. I'm going to turn off the camera, just roll this almost as if it's a pure podcast. Update that. All right, so even Maher, he's been a little bit shaky the past couple games for sure. But I mean, even that's as good as you can hope for, because the guy that he replaced, Dan Bailey, man, he has not been working out for Minnesota very well. So Dallas made a good call there. So even in that phase where you're not as great as you would like to be, you're at least as good as you could hope to be generally. He's still kicking, I think, 82% on the year is Maher. So even though he's had some struggles in the last month, he's doing pretty well overall. So in all 3 phases, Dallas is playing well. The defense has been, except for the Tennessee game, solid all year. Haven't allowed many big plays in recent weeks. Yes, they had Julio Jones burn them for 1, and I believe it was Vernon Davis got them in the Redskins game as well. They have given up some of those. If they can limit their explosive plays to the Saints, if they can give up less than, I'm going to say 2, at most 3 explosive plays to the Saints, that will go a long way. But they also need to, as Jay Farmady pointed out, they need to get either several quarterback sacks, minimum 3, or they need to get turnovers. This needs to be a game where the defense gets turnovers. And I don't know who gets that for them. Xavier Woods has done pretty well in that department. Leighton Vander Esch, in I don't even know how many career games for him, because I think he missed one. No, he didn't miss any game. So basically, Leighton Vander Esch through 11 games has more picks than Byron Jones through like 50-something. But LVE can get him. Xavier Woods has shown he can get him. Heath has come up with them in the past. Byron doesn't really get them. Cheeto, would be nice to see him get one, but he's not really that kind of corner either. So it basically boils down to, if Dallas can either get a couple turnovers and limit explosive plays by the Saints, that goes a long way. But it's also important for Dallas to start hot early. When Dallas has won games, especially in this recent streak, they've opened the games with good long drives. And that's the thing. This is one of those rare areas where if Dallas can actually run the ball, and that's a big if, and I'll get into that. If they can run the ball well, they are the rare ancient breed of offense that can actually limit the Saints a little bit. Because, as I said, the Saints are averaging 37 points per game, but they're also the number 1 rated rush defense. Now, they're allowing 3.7 yards per carry, but what you have to consider in that case is that because they are so lethal offensively, they're getting up 2-score leads real quick. And when you're 2 scores down, you're not going to be running the ball very much. We've seen that even with Dallas, which is, on the flip side, the great risk here for the Cowboys. But as it pertains to the Saints, if Dallas can score early, get the ball back, build even just a little bit of a cushion early on, it'll go a long way because then they'll be able to run the ball with Zeke. Again, the Saints are the number 1 rush defense. I think a big part of that is because not many teams have been able to run the ball against them because of how good their offense is at building a lead. And just like we saw with the Cowboys in 2016, that was their formula. Build the lead, grind the clock into the ground. That's exactly what the Saints are going to do. The Saints, they actually are right behind the Cowboys in total team rushing. From Cowboys, I believe, are 6th overall in rushing, and I think the Saints are like 7 or 8. So there's something there for sure. And they're going to have to figure out how to... Because the Saints are not one-dimensional. Everyone likes to think that the Saints are mostly a pass-happy team. They're not. Kamara is a beast. Absolute beast. And it's going to be something that will limit what their production can be. Jay Formadia, wish you guys lived here and could be at the game tomorrow. Silver and Blue lives in Ohio. I do live here in the DFW area, if that's what you're referring to. But I'm not, as of yet, hooked up to be at the game. But I am here in the DFW area, and so is Law now. But yeah, it's going to boil down to Dallas's ability to get out to an early lead, limit explosive plays. If they can produce a couple turnovers or get consistent pressure on quarterbacks, that'll go a long way. Because the Dallas defensive line, even without David Irving, he's not around the team right now. He's not practicing. He's not at the facility. He's dealing with some kind of personal issue. It sounds honestly like he's dealing with some form of depression or something like that. And that's obviously very troublesome and everything like that. That's a different issue. That's, if you're not right in the head, that's, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I honestly try to mean that in as understanding and empathetic a way as I can. If something is not right in your head, your heart, whatever, fine. Step away, sort it out. Doesn't help this team right now, but if it's serious, then go get your help. I always say that, life over football. But this defensive line, the point I was trying to make, is still getting really good pressure in these last few games. Matt Ryan was under duress despite not getting a lot of sacks. Colt McCoy, under duress. We've seen a lot of that in recent weeks here. And that's a big thing for this this defensive line. Now, we also know D-Law through 11 games this year has 32 solo tackles, 47 total tackles, 8.5 sacks, 11 additional quarterback hits, 10 tackles for losses, 4 run stuffs, 1 pick, 1 pass breakup, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. D-Law is a beast. And D-Law, if there is one thing DeMarcus Lawrence is, it is confident as all get out. And D-Law is leading the charge on this. If you guys follow the Dallas Prospect on Facebook, you've already seen this graphic. If not, I'm going to throw it up for you now. This was D-Law talking to reporters yesterday. I believe this was him talking to, I want to say it was Calvin Watkins, or it could have been Clarence Hill. But basically talking about the Saints on facing the 10-1 Saints. D-Law says, we've been talked up as being the difference. They're going to have to match our intensity. I'm going to avoid the explicatives here. I'm going to beat myself, basically. Have to match our intensity. Helps if that button doesn't lag. There it is. All right. Have to match our intensity for 60 minutes straight. If you hit a mother in the mouth and they ain't doing what they're regularly doing and putting up 50 points, they start to get a little distressed. So now you got them where you want them, and then choke their ass out. That was DeMarcus Lawrence talking about the matchup with the Saints. He is not backing down. He is right there. And I think John Jock Taylor put it very well. I think it was this morning on ESPN radio. He basically was amounting DeMarcus Lawrence's, quote to kind of like the lead by example guy. He's like the one rallying the troops, like telling the rest of the team, all right, get behind me. Like, I'll lead the way. Just follow me. We're going to do this. And I like the no fear because I think it goes a long way toward having an impact. You got to fire up this team. It's not enough to just talk and say, hey, we know we got our hands full. No, I want you fired up. I want you getting everyone ready for this game because as Amari Cooper said, which I have a graphic for that, I guess I can throw up too, might as well since I can't put my face up there. But, no, not that one. But, there it is. Throw that up there. Amari Cooper sees this game as a measuring stick for the Cowboys. And it's a very true measuring stick in that sense because, as he said, the Saints are one of the best teams in the league. So if the Dallas Cowboys can beat them with how they're playing right now, that will say a lot about this team's potential. They're 6-5, but who knows what their record would be if they had Amari Cooper the whole time. I'm not trying to say, hey, this team is the Saints basically if they had Cooper from the start. I think that's a ridiculous statement, but I am willing to say games like Houston, Seattle, Washington the first time around, that's at least 3 wins off the top of my head you get back right then. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. You just have to see how things shake out. And I'm optimistic about this team. And I don't even have a whole lot of explanation beyond what I've laid out here. Yes, we know that the Saints have run the ball actually 40 times more than the Cowboys this year. And while that might say, hey, wow, they're even more well-balanced than the Cowboys. Well, that's also because they're putting up 40 points in a game and they're sustaining drives. The Cowboys, through the first, 8 weeks of the season, it was pulling teeth trying to get guys and trying to get the offense, I should say, down the field for more than a handful of plays at a time. They had so many 3-and-outs or, 4-play drives, 5-play drives that would just derail. So now you bring something like this into the mix. Of course, that's going to skew the numbers where the Saints have longer drives, more first downs and all of that. I mean, first downs is an irrelevant stat in this regard, but you get the idea I'm trying to say. Yes, the Saints are dangerous, and yes, Kamara is a massive weapon for them. They're featured back. I would say whenever he lines up on the outside at all for pass catching, I would say maybe tag Jordan Lewis to him. I think this could be a game where Lewis can have some actual impact in that regard. Shout out to Brett Bender for making mention of Kamara, helping me remember that point I wanted to make. Linebacker core, I call the Wolf Pack. It's a good nickname. And for whatever interest you might have in how Drew Brees is viewing the matchup with the Cowboys. Let me see here. Un momento. Here's Drew Brees talking about the Cowboys and their hot streak, as well as specifically the linebacking core you referred to as the Wolf Pack. Drew Brees says they are playing as well as anybody right now. They're playing with a ton of confidence. They are getting a bunch of turnovers. They are playing with a ton of energy. They are big up front. I'd say in all the areas you want to be good, they've been good the last couple of weeks. True. A little generic in some answers there, but true. As for the linebacking core specifically, he had something a little more interesting to point out. The linebacking group plays very physical. The back end, they've been a ball hawking secondary as of late. All around, it's a really solid defense. And it is. The Cowboys are one of the more well-rounded defenses. The one thing that I've said they've lacked is one, what I would call a killer instinct, and 2, turnovers. Now, I take this as David Irving, his comments, as him looking at it and saying, you know what? We're streaking right now. This feels like a moment where a win here would really solidify this team and could propel them forward, just as it did in 2009 when a 5-loss Cowboys team went into New Orleans and beat the 13-0 Saints. That propelled that team forward to win the division. All those talks of December swoons went away that year. Dallas, from that point on, from the Saints game on, won through. I know they didn't go undefeated in December. I think they lost to the Chargers the week before. But they didn't lose in the regular season again after the Saints. They got to the playoffs, won a playoff game. Yeah, they got run the following week against the Vikings. But the point is, they built off that momentum. It propelled them forward. And this win could do the same. And I think D-Law recognizes that. I think that's why he's trying to say, hey, we're playing great right now. Offensively, defensively, even the defense is, as I said, starting to produce those turnovers that eluded them. If we can play with that chip on our shoulder, that killer instinct, we can take it to the Saints on, the Cowboys are almost always on a national stage, but prime time, nobody else playing, every football fan's eyes on this game. The Cowboys can go out there and punch the 10-win Saints in the mouth and make a statement. This team, this Cowboys team, has been wildly disrespected this year. And some of it is justified. The offense was garbage for a while. And I'm not saying that all the problems are gone. There are still some stretches where the play calling is confusing. But it feels like the team is really starting to gel. And I don't know, there's something to that. There is something to the momentum this team is starting to put together and the talent that is developing. You of course have Leighton Vander Esch, like I said, 11 games played. But even someone like Cheeto still hasn't even played 20 games in his career. Still has not played 20 games because he missed so much of last year. So I know Cheeto's had his struggles, but it's still someone you got to consider, someone you have to really check out and see what he can do. And they've got a tall task because New Orleans has some serious weapons. I'm not doubting the ability of New Orleans to put some points on the board against Cowboys. Cowboys have averaged, they've given up 19.4 points a game, I believe, this year. Again, the Saints scoring over 37. So it's a tough task, a tall task to ask of this defense. But if you can get out to a little bit of an early lead, success on your first drives of the game, and every Cowboy win this year, they have been successful on those first couple drives, getting anywhere from 7 to 10 points because, let's face it, this offense, most of the time, to ask 14 quick points for them is unheard of. It's unfair, apparently. But 7 to 10 points. If they can get that and the defense produce a turnover, then they can change the scope of the game. The Saints, again, averaging 3.7 yards allowed on the ground. But the Cowboys, with Zeke, the league's leading rusher again, have been able to enforce their will as of late. Now, I'm pulling up my article again here to remind myself of the exact stats for Zeke. But Zeke has averaged something like 137 yards per game in this win streak. Like, he is a man on a mission in this win streak. And that's not even his total yards because, yeah, he didn't have eye-popping numbers, I don't think, against the Redskins on Thanksgiving Day regarding his receiving totals. But his numbers for the Atlanta game and the Philadelphia game are crazy, eye-popping crazy numbers there. So let me see here. Articles opened up now. Let me scroll through and find the number I pointed out. Saints also averaging 416 yards per game. That's something to keep in mind. 73 yards in total on the ground they've allowed. Zeke during this streak is averaging 131 yards per game, 5.79 yards per carry, and is the league's leading rusher. So as they have finally made him a little bit more diverse in how they use him, which I've been begging for the last 2 seasons, they're finally starting to do that. Now, they're not lining him up out wide and throwing the ball downfield to him like they did against the Lions earlier this year where he caught that like 26-yard pass that set up the game-winning field goal. But they are getting the ball to him in more creative ways than just simple check downs at the line of scrimmage where it's clear it's like 3rd and 13 and you're throwing the ball 1 yard with 8 men dropped back, knowing he's not going to get anything out of the play. They're not doing that finally. They're actually getting him the ball in ways that he can do a little something with it. And that's why you had, against Atlanta, him going for 201 total yards in the game. Now, the Saints have faced a running back of Zeke's caliber in Todd Gurley, another guy who, very good runner, but also a great pass catcher. I would say he's a better pass catcher probably based on what we've seen from him. I would say he's in that Le'Veon Bell category in that regard. So that's something to keep in mind. And they held him in check. In Gurley's case, I believe they held him to, what was it? It was something like 13 carries for 68 yards. Yeah, 13 carries for 68 yards, and then his reception totals weren't anything crazy either. They held him either right at or just below 100 yards total for the game. He did get a touchdown on them, which I believe was on a rush too. But it's still just one of those things you have to take into consideration. Zeke might be a little bit more limited, which is why it's important to start hot early. If you can jump out to a little bit of an early lead and then lean on that run game, and if they start trying to stack the box against Zeke a little bit, you got to be able to make them pay with Cooper, with Beasley, with Gallup. Like, you've got to be able to get these guys involved. It's going to take a total effort to get this done. But I do think that this Cowboys team is capable of doing it. It's one of those things where, because if you had asked me this question 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I tell you there's no chance. This is a Cowboys team, to be fair. Let me be fair here. Again, this kind of discounts the last 3 games, but if you want to nitpick this Cowboys team and say that they are fool's gold, you would point to the fact that they have beaten one team over 500 this year. The Washington Redskins are 6-5. Every other opponent currently over 500 they have faced, they've lost. And that's normally the kind of number I would lean heavily on if it weren't for the fact that the Cowboys made the midseason trade for Amari Cooper and the entire identity and efficiency of the offense changed. Dak Prescott's numbers, I don't have the graphic here in front of me, but Dak Prescott's numbers are massively different since Cooper came into the fold. His quarterback rating is, I think, 101 now, whereas it was 83 or something. His completion percentage is better. His yards per attempt are better. The Cowboys' receiving core as a whole, the average yards of separation on each route is better. It's just making things easier. And because it's easier for Dak, it's also easier for Zeke. It all flows into itself. And it's making this team better and more dangerous. And now this looks like the team when in the preseason, I admit, I tried to talk myself into it, into the fact that this team didn't need a number 1 receiver. I went with everything that they were selling. I had to talk myself into it, but I got myself convinced because one of the things I said was this defense was going to be top 5, top 5-ish in this league. I thought maybe they could be top 3, but I certainly saw top 5. They're basically top 5. So that part I was right about. The receiving core I was wrong about, and because the receiving core was such a problem, as well as tight end, it made troubles for the rest of the offense. So in the preseason, when I projected this team to be things go right 10-6, it's still plausible, but I don't think that it's as likely. It could happen, but obviously it would be a vastly different way than I saw it happening. It's just that I now look at this team and I say, if this was the team they had rolled out from the start, I would say 10-6 or 11-5 if we had had this team the whole time. And even when I was setting out these optimistic projections, I was still saying more than likely you're going to be looking at a loss to the Saints. I would have said that at any point in the projection. But now here we are on the eve of the game, and I don't feel that way. I don't. I feel like this team has found a little something, and I feel like New Orleans, on the long streak that they're on, they're not prepared in the way, like mentally. They don't have the right edge. Now you might say, hey, D-Law's quote is bulletin board material for them. Maybe it is. But when you're 10 straight games, you're not as hungry. You're not. Your belly's a little full. You're content because, hey, the Saints have already basically made the playoffs. I mean, they haven't mathematically clinched it, but there's no way they're not making the playoffs. They've already essentially locked up their division. Atlanta's, 4-7? The Panthers are 6-5. Like, no, they're set. They've already clinched essentially the division. That hunger's not there. For the Cowboys, that hunger is everything. They lose tomorrow, and maybe they fall back a step in the division. Who knows what Washington's able to do at that point. I don't think Washington has a whole lot left in the tank. I think they're going to fade. But Cowboys have some real momentum here. And this feels like the right time to catch New Orleans. Because 3 straight wins, after 2 games, you start thinking, okay, maybe. But then you have that win against the Redskins and reclaim first place in the division. That starts to change your mind. Something starts to flip a switch there. And you start to look at that and you start to say, you know what? Nah, man, I'm feeling this. Like, we're 6-5, yeah. But I'm feeling this. This is a late run we're about to go on. And we're going to go out there on Thursday Night Football and we're going to smack them in the mouth because they don't want this. They're flash, yeah. But has anyone really hit them in the mouth? You know who did hit them in the mouth this year? Tampa Bay. Their one loss, the season opener for them. Tampa Bay went out there, punched them in the mouth, and yeah, they went back and forth, but their defense couldn't stop Tampa Bay. Dallas's defense will put up more resistance than Tampa Bay. If the offense can get out to an early lead, and by no means am I projecting a 48-40 game again like that Tampa Bay game. I'm saying if Dallas can hold them under 30, Dallas wins. That's my gut. I've got Dallas 26, New Orleans 24. If Dallas holds them under 30, I think Dallas wins. And you can play this back to me. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. This team has burned me in the past, but you know what? I'm feeling something with this. This felt like a turning point. And when everything D-Law is saying right now, the way he's stepping up, it's changing things a little bit, I think. Because now it's instilling that killer instinct in a team, in a very good defense that has lacked that killer instinct. If D-Law goes out there with one shoulder effectively, and he gets a sack and a half, 2 sacks, forces a fumble, Cowboys are going to be a nightmare to stop. Let me see here. Let's see. Revisit the comments here. Rico needs to step up. Dallas needs someone to work the seam and throw off Lattimore. I'd be thrilled to see Rico, especially with Swaim out indefinitely, potentially for the year. I think you have to find something in the tight end because Jarwin's not enough, and we've seen a little bit of Schultz, but I still don't think Schultz is ready to offer anything either. So, what's going on with Taco? Heard he was benched because he needed an attitude adjustment. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot beyond that report. I think it's interesting. I don't know if he's frustrated. Perhaps his reps were going down a little bit, and he wasn't getting as many snaps in the game, and he was getting frustrated with it. He knows he was a number 1 pick for them, and the fact is, he's just been okay. He's not a guy that stands out. Now, that's not to say he can't be a solid member of this defensive line rotation, but I don't think he's ever going to be the quote-unquote war daddy Jerry Jones went into that draft saying they were looking for. And I think that's unfortunate phrasing and framing by Jerry that kind of painted unfair expectations on Taco before he was even drafted. So, you can say TJ Watt should have been a Cowboy. That's a hard one to argue with, because even getting something out of Taco where you're like, well, hey, he looks like a serviceable guy on this defense. You look over at TJ Watt and you're like, shit. Heath and Vander Wolf getting a pick. I dig that. We need to shut down Kamara. Yes, sir. Linebacker core, call the Wolf Pack. I dig it. MC Apollo, go Mavs. Man, big win for the Mavericks tonight. I saw that 128-108 in Houston. Woo, I called that win on my stream earlier, for those wondering. Let's see here. Oh, please, David Irving was at Opus on Friday. He didn't look injured or depressed to me. Well, I mean, that's interesting. I hadn't heard the specifics on that. I've only heard some of the discussion and talk on some of the local radio here. And the impression I was getting was that he was dealing with some personal issues. If it's what you say, and it's just like he doesn't love football, which I know Big Game James has talked about a little bit. Like, he doesn't love football. He's just kind of there doing his own thing. Then, maybe it's good that we're done with him after this. You know what I mean? Hold on here. It's like toward the end of the stream, but I'm going to throw this up here now as if you don't know who it is. Mavs blowing out the Rockets out of the building. Yes, sir. The attitude will get him some sacks. Good. I hope everyone's wanting to beat this team. D-Law was in the locker room and totally interrupted Jalen's interview. He better play like Ware did in 2009. He very well can. I think D-Law, like I said, I think D-Law is basically telling the rest of that team, follow me. I will take you where we need to go. Just get in line and follow me. Match my intensity. And we will basically put the Saints on notice, and we'll make a serious, serious statement. Also, the Saints use 2 running backs and 2 quarterbacks in their offense. They use Taysom Hill on goal line situations. Yeah, and that's something Dallas is going to have to account for sure. They're a balanced attack. Like I said, I don't mean any disrespect towards the Saints. They are a juggernaut offense. But, you know what they say, good defense beats a good offense, even in today's NFL, where that's a rare thing to say. In college, you don't see it as much as you used to. Granted, offenses are all the rage because college football is basically bled into the pro game. But, look, last year at the Rose Bowl, Oklahoma, Georgia? Oklahoma, historically good offense going against the top defense in the country. Georgia might have let Oklahoma put up 48, but you know what? They met them, and in the second half, they shut them down. I think it was 45, actually, for Oklahoma in regulation. So they gave up only 14 points in the second half after giving up, I think, 30. Yeah, after giving up like 31 in the first half. So good defense can still beat a good offense. Doesn't matter how good your style points are. Someone comes in and punches you in the mouth, it's going to get your attention. And they keep punching you in the mouth. You're not used to taking those hits. You've been flying past people. You're not used to getting hit. You're not used to the physicality. So if they're going to bring that swagger, the Cowboys are going to bring that swagger, I like their chances. If this is all just, posing and trying to look tough, and then it's not going to reflect on the field, well, then they're going to get blown out just like the Eagles got blown out 48-7 against the Saints. I really hope that doesn't happen. Momentum, in my opinion, is the biggest thing in football. If we take it early, we are pretty good about keeping it and wasting clock. Yep, agreed. Off topic, but am I the only person who thinks that we should hold off one more year on extending Dak? I think we should see if he improves with better coaches first. I've been getting tons of hate because of it. I don't have a problem with that mentality at all. In fact, I think it would be smart. My fear now is that Jason Garrett is locked into a new deal because this ownership doesn't want to give up on him. And now that they're getting momentum, especially if they beat the Saints, I think they're going to look at that and say, aha, see? He just needed Amari Cooper. That's all it was. I think Garrett's going to get extended. And if that's the case, there's no point in waiting on if you're going to extend Dak. They're just going to do it this offseason. They've already said their priority this offseason is new deals for Dak and Cooper. We went in tomorrow with ball control. I dig it, Cowboys family. My Cowboys family. Young Wilson, what up? Must-win statement game. Eagles nipping at our heels. Yeah, well, they can come get some too. They got to come to Dallas next time. I think we need just 3 wins, and we have the division. Beat the Eagles, Giants, and someone else, and then we're good to go. Yeah. Completely agree. We won't win a shootout, 30-plus shootout, nor could we keep up. But if we lock up, hold them to field goals. Yeah, and that's what they did against Atlanta. Atlanta, I know they're 4-7, but offensively, they are the closest comparison team we have to the Saints that we have faced. They have tons of weapons. Yes, Devonta Freeman out for the season. You didn't have to face him. This Tevin Coleman is still good. You still have, obviously, Calvin Ridley, their first-round pick, Julio Jones. Mohamed Sanu is legit, as well as a second or third receiver. Matt Ryan, Hooper. The Falcons have weapons, man. And Dallas held them to 1 touchdown, and it took a freak play out of Julio Jones to get it. So that's another team that was averaging something like 30. I can't remember how many points the Falcons were averaging at home, but it was like 38 points at home on the year. Dallas held them to 19. 1 touchdown. The only guy who at least met his season averages was Julio. He was averaging something like 7 for 115, and I think he got 6 for 118. So he's the only guy that really met that average. Everyone else was held below. This defense is getting stuff done, and one thing they've been, for the most part, very good at this year is red zone defense. They will hold you to field goals, and if they can do that against the Saints, they have a real chance. Now, no disrespect to the Saints' defensive line. They've got 2 very good pass rushers to deal with. Dallas won't have Tyron Smith, most likely. He is an absolute game-time decision, but I doubt he plays. I think he's back the following week against, I believe, Philadelphia. But all the same, man, I'm looking at this, and I feel like if you can just get that early lead, if you just get that early lead, then you go out there and you punch them in the mouth, and you hit them again and again and again. You play your game. You play hungry. You play with fire. They can't touch you. I completely agree. Oh, I already read that. I believe no one will take us seriously as Super Bowl contenders. You know what? Don't let them. And I don't mean that as in don't let them screw up. No, I don't mean it that way, of course. I mean it as, who cares? We play better when people doubt us anyway. This team has been disrespected and doubted all year, like I said, at times, for a reason. But they're still disrespected. They're still doubted. People are looking at us going, hoo-hoo, 6-5. They've won a couple games. Now you got DeMarcus Lawrence talking smack to the best team in the NFL record-wise right now. True. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Any given Sunday, any given Thursday in this case, the hungrier team that executes is the one who wins. So, go with it. Step on the field. Put up your dukes to make this an old-timey boxing match. Put up your dukes. And go to work. Get fighting. See who comes out. I think that Cowboys right now have the best chance that they will have. If you could have faced the Saints in any other week of the season, I would tell you this is the perfect chance, the perfect time. Because at some point, a long winning streak starts to lose steam. A team starts to get, as I said earlier, a little full, a little content. You start to take it for granted. In 2013, the Saints were trying to have a complete and perfect season. They overlooked a 6-5 Cowboys team. Actually, I don't think they were 6-5. I think they were 7-5 at the time. But the point is, they overlooked a solid Cowboy team because they had 5 losses and they were at home. and they paid for it. I think a similar thing can happen here. They're looking at us, seeing our record, seeing that we're on a 3-game streak, and they're like, supposed to worry about that? Stack the box against Zeke. Do just enough to slow down Coop. Dak can't beat us with his throws. Maybe not. Maybe not by itself, but maybe this is the week you run Dak more. Maybe this is the week you integrate a guy like Rico Gathers. You hold nothing back in this game. Now, I understand that this game doesn't have a huge bearing necessarily on the division. This is a game you can afford to lose, but I don't want that mentality. I want them to come in pissed off, feeling like they got their backs to the wall and the entire world telling them they can't. Because if they have that and they play like that, they're dangerous and they can beat anybody. Saints don't have that mentality right now. Saints have everyone saying, yeah, you got this. Don't worry. Go humble them. So they're that cocky guy not looking for the fight. Not a real fight, at least. This is about as hype of talk as I can think of for one of my shows. I got off into the woods talking about momentum and fire. I don't know. What do you guys think? You dig it? Let me see. No one take us seriously as Super Bowl contenders. Win versus Saints, then Eagles. It means this team is for real. I think so, yeah. At least momentum-wise, absolutely for real. All I want right now is Dak's first playoff win. Get it out of the way at least, yeah? Taco is soft. TJ, yeah. Got to play a clean game. No room for error, no boneheaded penalties, and Dak needs to be Dak-curate. Yeah, Dak's got to play a great game for sure, Diego. When Dak doesn't turn the ball over, the Cowboys have only lost one game ever, and I think it's something like 27-1 or 26-1. Again, I don't have the stat in front of me, but when Dak doesn't turn the ball over, Dallas historically wins. Now, it's not like you just say, oh, just run the ball every play. If he doesn't turn the ball over there, we win. No, you still got to execute in other ways. You still got to be aggressive. Here's the thing. I want Dak to be aggressive in this game. I want Dak to come out with his basically nut swinging and saying, I don't care what you think I can or can't do. I'm going to throw a bomb over your head and I'm going to take you out. I want to see early in this game Michael Gallup or Amari Cooper hit a huge play for Dallas. Because when Dak comes out and he's aggressive, he's got two modes. He's either the uber conservative, and let's be real, that's the main mode. Either the uber conservative, take what the defense gives me, just make the smart play, don't risk anything. Or he's the, my back's to the wall, I have to do something right now, and I'm just going to start slinging it and hoping for the best. That's the Dak we see in the 2-minute warning a lot of times. That's the Dak we've seen on game-winning drives since he came into the league. He can do it, but it's a mentality. It's that killer instinct he doesn't always have. If he has that, he can absolutely make plays against the Saints secondary, especially with someone like Amari Cooper at his right. Let's see. Tank better back it up. Absolutely. Needs to. Tank needs to do what Ware did in the 2009 game. 2 sacks, I think a fumble as well. Fumble and a fumble recovery. And that was him playing with a bum neck, if you recall that game. Playing through like severe stingers, I believe. I think he was carted off the game before against the Chargers, if I recall, all the way back in 2009. Losses against Carolina, Seattle, and Washington will be the reason the Redskins take the division. Dallas will not win tomorrow. I don't have the Redskins taking the division. I think the Redskins are the walking wounded, and I think flash forward in 2-3 weeks, you're going to see that they have basically limped to the finish line, and Dallas will win against the Eagles. They might not beat the Saints, but I'm still picking them. I still believe that they can if they play this game. I think they beat the Eagles because I think the Eagles secondary is trash, and I think Amari Cooper will have an even better game because it was only his second game with Dallas when they played him last time, and he still made at least some what of a difference in that game. So yeah, I got Dallas winning this division. How far they go beyond that, I don't know. But momentum is everything in sports. You get a team with some swagger and with some fire. You get what's the law like to say, that PhD mindset, poor, hungry, and determined mindset. Well, they might not be poor, but if you're in that mentality, at least you're going to go in there with some fire in your gut, and you're going to fight. That's something that they have to do. We got heart. I agree. The Saints have advantages in coaching. Agreed. Offense. Yep. Defense. I think our defense can go toe-to-toe with them. Special teams. All right, Jay. You got the blowout. That's cool. It could happen. I'm not saying it can't. But I'm still taking Dallas in this game. I'm taking Dallas in a nail-biter. But even if they don't win, just fight to the end. Keep it close. Keep it respectable. Philadelphia got their ass blown out 48-7. If Dallas has to lose, let it be something like 33-24 at least. I know that's not one score, but hey, it's better than nothing, and I believe this team can do it. Glad you made it home safely. Glad I made it home safely. From where? Mexi-Go? In Allen? Oh, that's cool. We need this kind of pregame from you every week, says Brett. Hey, maybe it's something I can scrounge up a little bit. I'm not shouting or yelling or anything, but as far as the mentality, have that more, kind of breathe it into existence, a little bit of that fire, a little bit of that belief. Hey, shout out Elite Bro. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. As Law would say, thank you for the donation to help grow the nation. Oh, check that out. I even have the graphic on screen. Salute, sir. I even forgot that graphic was set up. Let's see. Love what you're doing. Keep it up. P.S. Cowboys win against the Saints and take the division. I dig it. Let me see. Hold on one sec. Sorry, I'm just adjusting a setting here. All right, so let's see the comments here. I need this every week from you. I do like aggressive Dak. I believe it was after he got hit in the head against the Titans where he just ran up through the gut, through the contact for 6, as well as his run against the Washington Redskins. Yeah, I agree. Get him out here. Get out of here with that mentality, J Farm. I like that. I like it. Just got to have some fire, man. I mean, that's what it's going to take for this team. They got to have that mentality, that killer instinct. They admittedly have not had it a whole lot this year, but I think they're finding it. If you had asked me in 2009, could the Cowboys have gone in and beaten the 13-0 Saints? To your point, Jay, the Saints had all those same advantages that year. Didn't matter. Like I said, you're on a 10-game win streak. You've already pretty much locked up the division and the playoffs. You're not hungry. You don't have that same fire. You go in there with a much more aggressive mindset, a more determined mindset. You can make it happen. Just got to go in there and take care of business. Just got to keep attacking Marcus Williams. He's been super inconsistent all year, and PJ Williams has also given up some big plays as well. Lattimore is basically their Byron Jones. Agree. And, you know, Coop did work against Josh Norman, did some work, a little bit of work against Darby as well. So Coop's route running will be Dak's best friend. I don't know the exact stat off the top of my head. I want to look it up, but of Amari Cooper's catches, it's like an insane number, like a insane percentage of them that are going for first downs for the Cowboys. And that is almost by itself the biggest thing he's bringing to the Cowboys, and specifically to Dak Prescott. Because now Dallas has an amazing route runner. Dallas hasn't had a guy that size, that speed, and that route running ability in years. And I know the knock against Amari was his drop rate, which he hasn't dropped one yet in Dallas, knock on wood. And additionally, that he's highly inconsistent is what we've been told. Potentially, yeah. I mean, He hasn't set the world on fire in every game by any means. I think he was 3 for 36 against Atlanta. So, yeah, maybe. But it's still just what his presence out there forces the defense to adjust for. And that's why even in 2017, even though Des Bryant wasn't setting the world on fire anymore for the Cowboys, his presence alone still made the 2017 offense better than the 2018 offense for the first half of the season. Till you got Cooper. Now I would say the offense is better now than it was in 2017 for Dallas. That's just my thought on it, though. Saints due for a road loss. Dallas due for an 11-5 division title. And the team no one wants to play in the playoffs, says Guitar Slinging Zombie Killer. We still have the tiebreaker over Washington, and if we end up with the same record, well, we split our series with Washington, so we'll see. Mar is a 63-yard game-winning field goal. That would be something to instill more confidence in the kicker for sure. So true, we're the hungrier team. I hope we make the Saints look like the Jags did. It's not impossible. It's not at all, Electric Chicken. Not at all impossible. Fleming, hey, he was good for them in this last game against the Redskins, and the Redskins have a great defensive line. I felt like he had a very solid game. Not a perfect game by any means, but I thought he was solid. And again, he'll probably have to get the start, and he'll have to go up against a tough draw against, let's see, what defensive end will be over him, or whatever. Regardless, he's going to have his hands full, but I think Dallas, I think they're ready. I do. I think Dallas is ready for their single biggest win of the season. Every year, Dallas has one win that defines their season. And what I mean by that is, well, let me reframe that. Not that defines their season, but is like the key moment of their season, right? Last year, it was Kansas City, beating the snot out of Kansas City in Dallas. And we thought that was a turning point because that's when everything looked like 2016 again, save for the Tyreek Hill touchdown before half. That's what that looked like in that game. And we came to find that, no, actually that was the outlier because then the Zeke suspension started, then Dak Prescott broke, and this team was never the same the rest of that year. Hell, even a hangover from that carried into this year for a little bit. But with everything in place now, Dak is starting to look at least more like 2016 Dak, which I know, weird that I'm like, wistfully dreaming of the days of rookie Dak Prescott, but he's looking a little more confident and comfortable. And even in this 4-game stretch, even if you include the Titans game, he still was making some plays. Dak's numbers have certainly improved the past several weeks, even before the streak really got underway. So what he's got to avoid is the costly turnovers, his fumbles. That has been a problem for him. His whole career, actually. That was something even 2016 I brought up a lot. But I digress. This team, 2017, the Kansas City game was it. This could be that moment for the 2018 team. If it's not this, then what is it, the Jacksonville game? That was the only other game where they looked like just a monster offensively. So, I don't know. Something to consider there. This is a chance to have your season-defining moment now, at least as far as the regular season is concerned. And if Dallas beats the Saints, I think that they... I'm trying to think of their remaining schedule off the top of my head. So, they've got 5 games left. They got the Saints, the Eagles, the Giants, Tampa Bay, and the Colts. That's their 5 remaining games. If they beat the Saints, they can beat any of them, obviously. But I think they're going to beat the Giants. I think they're going to beat the Eagles again. Tampa Bay is not tough. I think if there's one that I would pencil in as like a, hey now, keep an eye out, because it's an AFC team, so it doesn't have division or conference standings even. That would be the Colts, which I think is the second to last game of the year. So, something to keep in mind. Let's see here. Before I wrap this up, been going a little over an hour now. Thank you guys for all the active conversation, even where we've had some debate and some discussion. I like it. I dig it. And again, thank you to Elite Bro for the donation. Appreciate that, buddy. Let's see here. Left tackle is out as well for the Saints. Good to know, Diego. Just a 65 to break their record. Yeah, why not? Let's see, tiebreak. Yeah, it won't be a tiebreaker if they win more division games. We've played 5. They played 4 in which we were ahead. Yeah. Yep, Sean Lee went out in Atlanta too. Yep, that was part of that. But Sean Lee's been out for about half this year, and it's not mattered. Like, LVE, I admit, I was wrong on that. LVE is the truth. In fact, speaking of LVE and his truthiness, which is not a word, I got one more graphic for that. Granted, this is from Thanksgiving Day itself. If I can find it. There you go. Wait for it. There it is. Troy Aikman, Thanksgiving broadcast, talking about LVE. I think Leighton Vander Esch is destined to be one of the all-time greats. I really do. He's an old-school linebacker in size, but new school in ability to cover and run. Hey, I admit I wasn't hyped about the pick at all, but I was more concerned about reports of a neck injury than anything. Once I saw this dude, I'll tell you when I bought into this dude as a potential beast. It was the, Seattle game, the first time Sean Lee went down, and he had 11 tackles in the game, 10 of which were solo. Now, he was doing it for a while there. He was making the plays that, as Mike Reiner of The Ticket said, presented itself to him. So the play that was right in front of him, he would make, which is still good. You got to make those plays. But now, as of late, he's making plays that he has no business making. That stop in Philadelphia on 3rd and 2, ooh, got past 2 blockers on a screen that would have put Philadelphia easily into field goal range with a chance to, I think at that point it would have been tie the game. It's been 3 games since then, or 2 games since then, I'm trying to recall. But would have put them in a huge position. He gets past both blockers and makes a shoestring tackle on the back, not just to not get the first down, but to lose 3 yards and turns it into a 4th and 5, I think it was. 4th and 6, something like that. Eagles then have to go for it on 4th down and don't get it. So that's the kind of plays that he's making now. You, of course, had the Carson Wentz pick he got in that game and the pick he got against Matt Ryan. LVE can do a little bit of it all. And if he stays healthy, again, knocking on wood, he is going to be a monster. And he's the kind of guy they need to make big plays in this game. Let's see. Need the Eagles to beat the Redskins then. I think the Eagles can. Yeah, I think the Eagles will beat the Redskins. They're certainly capable. And again, I think the Redskins are the walking wounded. The Saints are due for a loss. Yes, they are. LVE leads the league in solo tackles. Yes, he does. I've written on that as well for Dallas Sports Fanatic. LVE, he has over 100 tackles. I can look it up real quick what his solo tackle mark is. NFL. Yes. Pull it up right quick. But yeah, I know he leads the league in that, and he's done it in something like 150 fewer snaps than the rest of the guys in the top 5, which is just absurd. Man, the stats outdated. You give me the updated stats. This is from 2 weeks ago. How dare you? How dare all of you? Anyway, I digress. He's got over 100 tackles, something like 117 or 127, something like that, tackles. His solo tackle numbers, I don't know off the top of my head either because this stupid thing is not giving me the most up-to-date information. But he's also got 3 passes defended, 3 passes defensed, as well as 2 interceptions. I think he might have forced a fumble in there. I mean, the dude's just a monster in what he's doing. And this is, like I said, 11 games into his career. So we'll see. Saints going 15-1. All right, go 15-1. I mean, it would be like the other teams that have gone 15-1 in recent history. Panthers didn't win it. But, hey, go for it. If they can keep that focus, they've earned it. Let's see. Saints It's due for loss. What do you think about the college coach that just got fired, Cliff Kingsbury? I don't like Garrett, but at least getting a new offensive coordinator. I think Scott Linehan's gone no matter what. I think Garrett's the one who at this point we're going to be stuck with again, which I hate. But, you know, that's the reality we're probably faced with. Cliff Kingsbury can basically name his offensive coordinating job, especially with how the college football game has bled into the NFL. He could probably name a lot of his head coaching jobs even, which, you know, something to look at as well. But I tend to think that Cliff Kingsbury, you got a shot at him, but it sounds like his phone's been ringing off the hook from colleges and NFL teams interested. If Jerry has any brain left at all, he has called him. Because here's the thing, even if Garrett was gone, and even if you could get Lincoln Riley out of Oklahoma, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Lincoln Riley is leaving Oklahoma for Dallas, let alone the offensive coordinating job, not the head coach job. I do think you can get a similar animal, though, and another very, very bright offensive mind in this country in Cliff Kingsbury as your offensive coordinator and not as your head coach. So by all means, do that. Go get Cliff Kingsbury if you can. Actually, we played 4 and they've played 3, so Philly needs to beat them because there's no way in hell Philly beats the Rams. Probably not. I wouldn't bet on that either. Let's see. Get pressure on Drew Brees up the middle. Can't run. Key to the game is defense. You beat the Saints. You can beat the Saints. Trust me. Yeah. Let's see. Yep, and practically one loss for Philly knocks them out of the division. Contention. Yep. Belichick wanted LVE at 22. Yeah, and that would be a perfect. It's more than 44 solo tackles. Man, 2 weeks ago, he was at 74. I don't know what his number is at right now, but it's certainly more than 44. Let's see. Let's see. J. Farmady. Giants took their foot off the gas and let the Eagles beat them. Yeah, no, they did. Little colorful on language, but that's cool. Let's see. I like Chris Peterson, offensive coordinator, turned around Boise State and Washington University. Could be a solid choice. He's a guy I wouldn't mind talking to, but we can get into all that later. That's going to wrap up my time here for this show, guys. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Again, once more, thank you to Elite Bro. Appreciate the donation. It's greatly appreciated. Guys, let's see what they can do. Like I said, I don't know if I'm just buying into the hype and they're going to let me down tomorrow, but I do honestly think that this could be a season-defining moment for them tomorrow. They're hot. The Saints have been hot for a while, but eventually it starts to cool. You start to lose a little bit of that hunger, and you start to think, hey, man, we've won 10 in a row. It's not the end of the world if we lose one here. It just happens. Late game situations, it can happen. So something to keep in mind. Let's see what happens. And with a Thursday game, I usually go live. It'll probably be going live Sunday for me to talk Cowboys again. But I'll give you guys post-game show then. Don't forget to tune in. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Throw up these little animations here again. Ring the notification bell. I talk Cowboys. I talk Mavericks. Maverick fans, I know you had a huge win tonight. I'm going to be talking about that too, probably tomorrow or the next day. Plenty to talk about. We're going to stay busy around here. Guys, I appreciate the time. And remember, every legend was once a prospect. Salute.